In a city of 7 million where people live very densely packed together, a virulent outbreak can be catastrophic. 2003. A Chinese doctor staying at an undisclosed 5-star hotel unknowingly carries a virus from the mainland. He is old, tired, and sick, but decides to go to his meeting anyway. He breathes with difficulty, but insists that he feels fine. That's where it begins. A cough. SARS, which stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, is caused by a coronavirus that enters the body through the mucous membranes of the lungs. Like any viral infection, it is unable to replicate on its own, so it must infect the cells of an individual in order to have a means of multiplication. The SARS coronavirus consists of genetic material, namely RNA, and a viral envelope with glycoprotein surface markers. The method of infection is not indiscriminate, as the SARS virus can only bind to cells in the body with specific complementary receptors. Once infected, the SARS virus gains a foothold in the body and begins to replicate rapidly, infecting any other cell it finds. It begins as a cough, a sore throat, and difficulty breathing. Meanwhile, inside the humors of the body, the nonspecific immune system is attempting to take over, trying to rid the body of the infection. Unlike the common cold, however, SARS triggers what is known as a cytokine storm, a positive feedback loop of the inflammatory response, which proves to be very, very dangerous. As infected cells begin signaling killer T cells and macrophages to destroy the bodies infected, the body has an excessive and uncontrolled release of pro-inflammatory cytokines. This is the storm, and as long as the viral SARS infection is present at all, this excessive release does not stop. This makes SARS a very volatile and very lethal infection, as an individual's own immune system begins destroying infected lung tissue, muscle tissue, and other vital organs necessary for normal function as the infection continues to spread. 2 to 14 days after initial pulmonary symptoms, infected individuals are ravaged with high fevers and muscle pain in addition to severe pneumonia. Eventually, as the cytokine storms continue to ravage the body, damaged lung tissue begins to fill with body fluid. Deaths resulting from SARS and ultimately with an inability to properly breathe. Victims essentially drown as their lungs fill up with the result of an immune system out of control. In order to prevent the spread of SARS, the Hong Kong government instituted a strict quarantine policy that was comparable, by Chinese media, to imprisonment. Similar policies were also implemented in Singapore, mainland China, and many other affected nations. As of now, there is still no known cure or medical solution for SARS. While the fatality rate of SARS itself is merely 9% in the total population, it reaches 50% in patients over the age of 50. The individuals who survive the viral infection itself often die later due to long-lasting complications that develop during SARS. These include pulmonary fibrosis, osteoporosis, and femoral narcosis, which in many cases leads to the complete loss of working ability or the ability to care for oneself. In addition, due to many of the harsh and fast-acting quarantine policies implemented by many governments used to contain the outbreaks, post-SARS patients have been documented to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive disorder. Regardless of survivability, SARS has many debilitating effects and would have rather catastrophic consequences on the population if the virus were to return in the near future. With only 8,273 cases as of 2003, SARS, luckily for us, is a very rare disease that is comparatively inefficient in transmission, in contrast to the common cold. While some people say that the act of quarantining individuals against their will is an infringement of civil liberties, most agree that the quick actions of the World Health Organization and subsequent governments in affected areas kept the spread of the SARS virus to an adequate minimum. Given that an outbreak like SARS could happen at any time, anywhere, the real question we must answer is what efforts can we, as individuals and members of nations, put forward towards the long-term development goal of containment and greater public health. Although no cases of SARS have been reported since 2004, as the first major outbreak of the 21st century, many lessons can still be learned from SARS.